Hey everyone, I've got a story to share about the unexpected twists and turns of life. My wife and I got married at 25, right after college. We were living the dream with good jobs, a great life, and no money worries. I landed a fantastic job at a big company, and my wife worked for her dad's business. Everything was going well. When I was 28, I got a huge promotion, and suddenly I was earning a lot more. We welcomed our first daughter that same year, and the second one followed 2 years later. Life was hectic but good. However, about 5 years ago, my father in law passed away, leaving my wife and her mom with a tough decision about the family business. My wife stepped up and took charge, and eventually, her salary surpassed mine. Our busy schedule started affecting our daughters, so my wife and I had a heart to heart. She pointed out that her company needed her more than mine needed me. I agreed and decided to be a stay at home dad, taking care of everything at home while my wife ran her company. But about a year ago, things changed. My wife's attitude shifted, making snide remarks about my contributions, and our relationship took a hit. I've been working nonstop at home, trying to understand this sudden change. I used to have a regular job, but quit to take care of our daughters and home. Despite my efforts to make my wife happy, her behavior became confusing. Recently, I discovered explicit messages, videos, and pictures on her phone revealing an affair with a younger colleague. Devastated and angry, I've decided to get a divorce, seeking legal advice to secure child support, alimony, and primary custody of our daughters. Update: I've gathered evidence, contacted a lawyer, and decided on a divorce. The lawyer thinks I have a strong case due to my role as the primary caregiver and my wife's affair. I plan to seek full custody, emphasizing the potential danger to our daughters from her actions. I'm taking steps to protect my daughters and secure a stable future for them. My lawyer advised me to stay quiet until the legal paperwork is ready for the divorce. He'll arrange for someone to serve her with the papers, and it will be stipulated that she must leave our home. The lawyer suggested I undergo an STD test and recommended a DNA test for both my daughters. He explained that it's uncommon for such incidents to be the first time and urged me to remain silent until the divorce is settled. The lawyer emphasized the importance of behaving normally, avoiding arguments or intimacy, and sleeping in separate beds. I've agreed to follow his advice. I've returned home and started preparing for dinner, acting as if everything is normal. Update: I had an STD test for myself and a paternity test for my daughters. Fortunately, I tested negative for any diseases. The paternity test confirmed that I am indeed their biological father. My cheating wife is no longer in the house, and I've been granted full temporary custody. Specific details will be shared later. She was served with the divorce papers at her workplace, and it didn't go smoothly. My daughters are aware of the situation, and it's challenging for them. I'm considering arranging for them to see a child therapist to help them understand. Despite the emotional difficulty, I've contemplated allowing their mother to cheat to maintain a family unit, but I recognize that's not a viable path. The idea of an open relationship also doesn't sit well with me. I'm also concerned about how the girls would feel if they sense that mommy and daddy no longer love each other. My ex-wife, still legally my wife, is currently living with her mother. My mother-in-law reached out to me, and we agreed to arrange a meeting. She didn't ask for specifics but requested not to keep her granddaughters away. During our conversation, I assured her that she's a wonderful grandmother, and as long as she shields my girls from the situation between her daughter and me, I have no issue with her remaining a part of their lives. My ex-wife has been trying to contact me, but under the guidance of my lawyer, we've established a trackable method for communication focused solely on the girls. Update: I spent Thanksgiving with my wife and mother-in-law. This gathering was solely for the benefit of our daughters, not an attempt at reconciliation. Before Thanksgiving, I had a meeting with my mother-in-law to discuss how we'll handle things concerning my daughters after the divorce. She shared some details about my wife's past, including being cheated on in high school. My wife always saw me as the son-in-law she'd been waiting for. She expressed apologies for her daughter's actions and assured me of her efforts to prevent any problematic behavior during the divorce. Prior to Thanksgiving, my mother-in-law invited me and the girls for dinner. I agreed to meet my wife and mother-in-law for Thanksgiving under the condition that it would be just for the girls. My wife suggested coming together as a family for the girls one last time, and after consulting my lawyer, I agreed, making it clear that it was solely for the girls' benefit. The gathering turned uncomfortable as my wife attempted to act like we were still together, hugging and kissing me. After the dinner, she begged to take her back, but my mother-in-law intervened, expressing disapproval of her daughter's actions. Following Thanksgiving, my wife has been pleading to work things out, but I've made it clear that I'll only discuss matters related to our daughters. Therapy sessions for my daughters brought tough moments as they learned about their mom's affair and our separation. They clung to me in tears, and their therapist suggested medication, which I'm not comfortable with. The girls seem to have turned against their mom for Christmas, expressing a strong desire not to see her again. Update: my daughters are doing better, and my wife is respecting boundaries. The therapist suggested medication, but I'm hesitant. For Christmas, the girls have turned against their mom, expressing a strong desire not to see her again. Second update: my wife's affair partner is revealed to be married with a toddler. I informed his wife, and after an initial disbelief, she requested a meeting. She revealed she had just overcome cancer, endured surgeries and chemotherapy, and hadn't been intimate for about 2 years. Amelia and I spent Christmas together, and despite the circumstances, it turned out to be a wonderful day. I made it special for the girls, arranging gifts from Santa, and we enjoyed a movie together. The girls were happy, and I felt a warmth seeing them so joyful. Later, they reluctantly got ready to visit their mom and grandmother. While I encouraged their relationship with their mom for their healthy development, my therapist warned against isolation, emphasizing the girls' choice to rebuild their relationship with their mother as they get older. The therapist conveyed to my wife that positive change is needed for the girls to trust and love her again. During the visit, my wife had a conversation with my mother-in-law, who gave her a stern look. I couldn't hear the conversation, but my wife looked at me with tears in her eyes as I drove off. Later, Amelia arrived without her toddler, explaining that her in-laws and the child's father wanted to spend Christmas with him, as arranged through our lawyer. The arrangement with Amelia seemed good. We spent Christmas together, had dinner, and watched a movie. After some wine, our conversation became more intimate, discussing preferences and desires. Surprisingly, we discovered similar inclinations. As we cuddled, I unconsciously started massaging her, similar to what I used to do with my wife. Despite a moment of panic, she enjoyed it, and we continued. Things escalated, and we ended up exploring various rooms before ending up in bed, where we fell asleep. The next morning, we had breakfast, and Amelia asked if I felt anything the previous night. I admitted that I had, but we both acknowledged the importance of considering our children and ensuring our feelings were genuine. As she left, she inquired about my feelings, kissed me on the cheek, thanked me, and asked me to text her. I picked up my girls, and they had a good time with their mother, who was on her best behavior for the most part. An update on the girls: they are doing much better thanks to their therapist in various activities. As for Amelia and me, we continue to talk almost daily, but we haven't engaged in anything physical since our last encounter. We've met once and agreed that while we don't regret what happened, it was a mistake and shouldn't have occurred. Regarding my wife, she made efforts to communicate with me for a few weeks after Christmas. However, she has now acquired a lawyer, and my lawyer is aware that our meetings will be happening soon. She has come to realize that I'm resolute in my decision, and despite occasional calls and texts from her to change my mind, I've left her on read. Reconciliation is not on the table. As for the affair partner, he has been arrested. I don't have all the details, but there was a confrontation at my wife's workplace where she threatened to call the police, and he assaulted her. Coworkers intervened and protected her, leading to his arrest. My wife is pressing charges, while I anticipate he might hire a lawyer. I haven't received further updates on that front. My mother-in-law shared this information with me, hoping it would encourage me to check on her daughter. She also mentioned that I'm welcome to visit my wife. Don't judge my mother-in-law just yet, as she also expressed understanding if I chose not to visit, adding, He blacked her eye and busted her lip. Karma is a B, and this is hers. Since the incident, neither I nor the girls have seen my wife. Unless something extraordinary occurs, you probably won't hear from me again until after our initial meetings with our lawyers. An apology for not updating since our first lawyer meeting. Things have been hectic. Now back to Amelia and me. We're still in contact every day, and things are going well. We're getting along better, and it's becoming easier for both of us. Unfortunately, there's some bad news for her. Thankfully, it's not related to her health or her child. However, her cheating husband has disappeared. I'm not surprised by this development. He left shortly after being released on bail for assaulting my wife. It turns out my wife was the last person to have contact with him. My suspicions seem to have been correct. She was planning to press charges, but he threatened to sue her over their affair, claiming she used her position to initiate it. She dropped the charges following this. He decided not to pursue a lawsuit and then left town. No one knows where he's gone, and while I don't entirely believe his parents' claims of ignorance. At this point, I don't care much about that. My lawyer presented my demands, and after the aggressive incident involving her affair partner, I insisted on full custody. Her lawyer didn't seem to listen, suggesting reconciliation for the sake of the children. My lawyer laughed at that idea, listed all the issues, recounted her actions, and added problems with her affair partner for good measure. He said, "These are our demands, accept them, or we'll see you in court." Despite her lawyer pushing for reconciliation, my lawyer responded with, "Very well, we will see you in court." 2 weeks later, I received a call from my lawyer. She had agreed to all the terms, as long as she got the girls for 2 weekends a month and alternating holidays. Originally, she wanted all the weekends, but my lawyer negotiated against that. I agreed to the terms as she is still the mother of our daughters, and I hope she has learned to prioritize them. After all this, it feels strange to keep referring to her as my wife, but I trust you understand. I mean to say soon-to-be ex-wife. You might be wondering how she looked. Honestly, she looked terrible, almost anorexic, like she had aged 10 years. I even suspected her hair might be falling out. Despite my lack of love for her, she's still the mother of my daughters, and I don't like seeing her in that condition. I asked my mother-in-law to get her some help, and she is working with her to help her get back on her feet. My wife left me a note asking to meet up for one final talk before the divorce. We are scheduled to meet sometime next week in a public place for a recorded conversation. Despite my initial doubts, we've decided to start my oldest daughter on medication, beginning with the lowest dose until she gets used to it. If she handles the new family situation well, we'll slowly take her off the meds. My youngest is doing okay, and about the affair partner, he has pretty much vanished. Amelia and I continue to talk every day. Now on to the part you're likely most interested in. My ex and I met at the park where we used to take our girls. We recorded everything in case she tried anything untoward, but she didn't. Most of our conversation revolved around the girls, and she agreed that it's best for them to stay with me full-time during our separation. She admitted that she isn't in the right mindset to be a mom at the moment and acknowledged that she has failed as a mother. Toward the end of our meeting, as I was preparing to leave, she asked if we could halt the divorce, undergo counseling, and give our relationship another try. I firmly declined, reminding her of everything she had said and done to me, everything she had allowed her affair partner to say and do to me, and how she must have known about his actions towards his wife and child. I pointed out everything she had put our girls through and asked her if she truly believed she deserved a second chance. She shook her head and said, "No." At that point, I felt a surge of emotion and let it out. I talked about how much I had loved her, how I had given up my career for her and our girls, and how I had done everything for her. She started crying, and I continued speaking, expressing that sorry no longer held any weight in the situation. Everything she did to our girls weighed heavily on my mind. I confronted her, asking if she truly believed she deserved a second chance. She responded by shaking her head and uttering, "No, I don't." This marked the first time I felt truly passionate about our conversation, and I couldn't hold back. I began pouring out my emotions, expressing my deep love for her, reminding her of the career I had sacrificed for her and our daughters, and recounting all the ways I had supported her. Naturally, she started crying. I continued talking passionately, but eventually, I decided to halt my emotional outburst. She kept apologizing, but my response remained unwavering. Sorry doesn't mean anything anymore. I then inquired about her mindset when she initiated this turmoil. I recalled someone sharing a YouTube video discussing my situation, and I noticed that many comments aligned with what she was about to reveal. She suddenly confessed, I wanted to be the one at home. Her words left me bewildered, but she continued to explain herself. She clarified that she never intended to take over her dad's business. Instead, she wanted me to do it. Her true desire was to be a mother and a wife, not to work long hours of the business. Her revelations kept flowing. She wished for me to step in and manage the business, allowing her to be a homemaker, caring for our girls, preparing meals, and playing with them. She expressed a strong aversion to being the primary breadwinner or a business owner. She spoke passionately about these desires for a good 30 minutes, and by the time she finished, she looked utterly drained. I probed further, questioning why she had made me quit my job, and claimed she wanted to run the business. She responded, I wanted you to express your willingness to do it. I countered, highlighting my lack of experience in that field and how it would have been wrong for me to agree to run her dad's business. She admitted that she had wanted me to vocalize it because she was reluctant to acknowledge her aspiration to be a stay-at-home wife. At this point, my anger reached a boiling point, and I berated her for allowing her pride to create such a destructive situation. My frustration remained intense. I questioned how her desire to be a homemaker related to the affair. She explained that during the pandemic, especially towards the end, she worked long hours, and she became jealous and resentful of me being at home with our daughter. Somehow, her affair partner sensed her vulnerability, possibly from seeing her at work. He began poisoning her mind with negative comments about me and insinuated that if I were a real man, she could stay at home. This led to the affair, and she did attempt to end it once. However, he intervened, resuming his toxic remarks about me, which fueled her anger and envy, causing her to fall back into the affair. It became a recurring pattern. She acknowledged that effective communication from the beginning could have prevented all this. She expressed a desire to have her family back and return to a sense of normalcy. Devastated and furious, I abruptly left the conversation. Since then, anger has consumed my heart, and I'm tired of being upset because of her. In addition, I forgot to mention a shocking revelation that emerged late last year. My ex was pregnant with her affair partner's child, but she decided to have a termination. My mother-in-law noticed her unusual behavior and suspected she was faking it for attention, but it turned out she was indeed pregnant. This added another layer of turmoil to her already tumultuous life. I apologize for including this detail at the end. It slipped my mind during the initial account. So there you have it.